Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be doing some baking and some cooking of some yummy soups as we get into the fall season. So let's get into it with the verse of today, which comes from Acts 2:46. With one accord they continued to meet daily in the temple courts and to break bread from house to house, sharing their meals with gladness and sincerity of heart. Whoa, so we are going to jump right in with some white chicken chili. You're going to notice a theme with all of these recipes. I just am going to lay out all of the ingredients for the most part and then show them to you. I am just going to link the actual recipe that I followed down below, but you can see I just put my chicken tenderloins into the crock pot and then I got my spices and I did actually measure them. I do usually measure for chilies and stuff because I don't make them a ton, but with other things, I don't always measure. But anyway, so we're just gonna put all of the spices over the chicken and get it in there real good, I guess. As I am doing this voiceover right now, I am exhausted, so if things get a little loopy, I'm gonna blame it on how tired I am. So anyways, we're gonna bring over our chicken broth, and the only reason that I'm using this container of chicken broth in addition to the bouillon is because I had it in the fridge from a recipe that I did a couple weeks ago, so I just wanted to get that used up, and that is why I use that. I normally wouldn't. So anyway, I just squeezed some garlic in there, as you can see, and now we are going to get chopping this sweet yellow onion. I thought that I was pretty good at chopping onions, and then after this week of cooking, I just feel like I lost it. I don't know. I feel like I used to be pretty good at dicing them up, and I only used half the onion for this. And then look at that. I did mix everything with my knife, and then the recipe said to put this on low for 8 hours, but after more like 5, this was done. Shredded my chicken with my KitchenAid. I believe I've shared this trick with you guys. And this is the only meal that I forgot to do a little shot after and show you guys how it turned out looking in the end. So that was kind of a bummer, but this turned out really good. I believe there was an entire teaspoon of cayenne pepper, so this did have quite a bit of kick to it, just so you know, and it was not super creamy. So if you want yours to be more creamy, I would do something a little bit differently than I did, or add some more sour cream. That usually does the trick. But anyway, that is that. And then I also made some pumpkin bread the same day that I made the white chicken chili. I got this recipe from Instagram from John Johnson from Sean Johnson, and I gotta be honest, this bread is usually really, really good. It's super easy to make, and it has one of my favorite baking ingredients, which is vanilla pudding mix. If you guys have seen me make my chocolate chip cookies, oh, it is such a game changer. So anyway, I think I overmixed it here. If you remember from our cupcake catastrophe, yep, pretty sure that happened again because my bread turned out pretty deflated. The little shot of it that you guys are gonna see, it looked pretty good, but within a couple minutes of cooling down, it was really flat, which is just makes it look funny, but that's okay. So we're gonna slow down here and pour our batter into the loaf pans. Yum. And then I ended up having a little bit left over, so you'll see in a minute. I'm going to put it into an 8-inch round cake pan, and as you can see in the bottom left of the screen, the cinnamon sugar crumble top thing, excuse me, oh, that is a game changer, I'm telling you. I highly recommend adding that. You can also add chocolate chips to this recipe. If you're the kind of person who likes raisins or something, I mean, you could totally add that if you wanted to. Or what are those nuts called? Pecans. That might go well. But yeah, you can really, chocolate chips, if I didn't say that would be a great addition, or a nice glaze on top of the cinnamon sugar. Yum, that'd be amazing. So the next recipe that we are going to do is cheddar broccoli potato soup. I had higher expectations for this, but I do want to play around with it. The recipe called for actual heads of broccoli, and I used frozen broccoli, which I didn't think it would matter, but looking back, I wish I would have thawed out the broccoli that I used and then chopped it up into smaller pieces, I just felt like the broccoli was way too big. But overall, the taste was really, really good. So we're just, chopping up the vegetables. I love time lapses of chopping veggies. You'll have to let me know if you guys do too. And I was having some trouble getting the angle that I wanted. I thought my tripod was tall enough to get a nice view over the stove, but it really wasn't. So yeah, had to work with what we got. But here I am just putting all the veggies in there to kind of cook down a little bit and soften up, and then they will do that more when you let your soup boil and simmer. I also used these gold potatoes, and the recipe called for russet potatoes. I don't really think it matters what type of potatoes you use, just whatever you have on hand will probably be fine. And then in the little saucepan, I just melted down some butter, and then to the butter we are adding, I believe it was 6 tablespoons of flour, and you're supposed to stir that vigorously for 1 minute, and then you add in the milk. I believe it was 2 cups. I did add a little bit more just because I wanted to make a little bit more soup, because I think we took it to Daniel's mom's house for dinner. So something funny is coming up. It's going to happen in just a few moments. So I'm going to add my flour mixture to the soup, and it was way more awkward than I thought it was going to be. And then bam. Yep, I did that. Bam. Look at that. And full disclosure, the little flour mixture is still on my stovetop because I just haven't gotten to clean it yet. Daniel thought that the soup spilled in the car because the flour mixture was on the side of the pot. So that was kind of funny. I thought that was funny. But anyway, yeah, I dumped it everywhere. And you can see a little theme as I am cooking throughout this week of soups. I usually do like to watch videos when I am cooking. It just makes me feel like I'm cooking with a friend and not cooking alone. So anyways, all the cheese that I'm adding here is more than the recipe called for. So I would say a rule of thumb, pretty much any recipe that you have, you can add more cheese to whatever the dish is, and it'll probably be fine, if not better, because you added more cheese. So that's just my 2 cents, and I'm not really a cheese fan, but I did really like the taste. So yes, this is what the soup looked like. Very good. Anyway, we're gonna do a little bit of cleaning up. So this would have been a couple days. Yeah, this was after 2 days of soup making, and the night that I made the broccoli cheddar potato soup, which also would have been good with bacon. That would have been good with bacon. I also made biscuits that day, but I just was so tired. I could not film them for you, but it was such a good addition. So anyway, Tuesday, I made some chili, and last year I made this with you guys, I think I showed you what I did, but there I have my beef bouillon, not my beef broth. Some more onion chopping. I felt like all I was doing last week was chopping onions, and I don't even feel like I got any better at it, but that's okay. So yeah, chili. Oh, it just feel like it is such a fall meal, and really, like, you don't really need to follow a recipe for this. Like, you can make chili whatever you want. You could add just about anything to it. It would still be good. And yeah, I'm sorry guys if this is like the weirdest voiceover you've ever listened to. I am getting so tired. Daniel is at drill right now, and today is Saturday while I'm speaking to you guys on this voiceover, and I just lost my train of thought, and I wanted to like explain this whole onion scene that just happened. The reason that I kind of threw those onions in there is because I get afraid of throwing them into the hot oil, or I got afraid. Wow, my grammar right now is amazing. I got afraid of throwing them into the hot oil and literally just threw them everywhere. They got on the floor, and I felt like a ding dong. But yeah, so if you also notice the brown wheat bag on my shoulder, that morning that I was making the chili, I tweaked my neck, and it hurt so bad. Thankfully, by the end of the day, I was able to get my neck to crack, and it just felt so much better. But I will admit that this whole ordeal with my neck that day really made me feel like I was getting old, and I'm only gonna be 22 next month, so yeah, that was reassuring. But I think what I was gonna say is that you can add whatever you want to these. And I also wanted to tell you guys, I did not realize that rinsing beans was a thing until probably about a year ago. Which, I mean, I guess why would I have known? Like, I wasn't cooking until a year and a half ago. So anyway, that was something I learned. If you didn't know, apparently you're supposed to rinse off beans sometimes, but not all the time. I don't know. But for chili, it's pretty simple. We just browned up the ground beef and the onion a little bit, then added our spices. And for the tomato contents, I think I added a lot of tomato sauce because I had a huge jar of it. But it really, I mean, I'm gonna say it doesn't matter. Maybe it does. But there's a lot of room for creativity with this particular recipe. So yes, one important note that I would make if you decide to follow this recipe, so you want to get your chili to boil, and then once it starts to boil, you want it to simmer, and you want to let it simmer for at least 20 minutes, but really the longer you can let it simmer, the better it's going to be. So I also made these corn muffins to go with the chili, and I gotta be honest, I'm not really a fan of cornbread, corn muffins, whatever you want to call them. I just don't really like the texture of them. The taste is okay, but the texture is just kind of gritty, which it's supposed to be, but like I said, not my style. But these are super easy, and I think it's only like 47 cents at Aldi. The mixture is not expensive, and I've never tried to make them from scratch, so that might be something I do in the future. I feel like this shot of the finished meal was really unaesthetic, but whatever. Moving on to making some homemade bread. Oh, this is one of my favorite things, you guys, and I thought this time lapse was cool just because you can see the yeast blooming, as they say, and you can see I'm getting ready to make chicken noodle soup, so that's kind of why that got chaotic there for a second. But there is just something so therapeutic about making homemade bread. Like, if you're upset, you can take your frustrations out on kneading it. You can punch the dough. Oh, and if you've never made bread before, you do want the texture. You want your dough to be soft, not sticky at this point for bread anyway. Different doughs are different. And a little tip to help your dough rise quicker is to heat up your oven before putting the dough in there. And then, so I had preheated mine to 215, and then I shut it off once I put the dough in. Then you just beat it down again. You can also let your dough rise in the microwave if you want. I think someone told me this hack. You can put like a glass of water in your microwave and let that go for a minute or two, and then put the dough in there. But after rising the second time, it will be ready to go into the oven. I believe it was 375 for 15 to 25 minutes. It's gonna just depend on your oven, depend on the size of the loaf of your bread. You will know that your bread is done if it is hollow. If you can knock on the top of your bread and it makes a hollow sound, then you know it's done. And look how good this bread looks. Mm-hmm. So for this chicken noodle soup, I really do not have a recipe. It was just kind of whatever you want. I'm sure you could add more vegetables to chicken noodle soup. This is just the classic carrot, celery, onion, and I did make quite a bit because I was having my family over for dinner this night, and you can see Karen in the background. She was hanging out with me. We had some fun just chatting in the kitchen while I was cooking and baking like a mad woman, because not only did I make the bread and the soup, I also made cookies. I felt like I just could not stop moving. So anyway, I had my family over for dinner this night. It was a lot of fun because Daniel had to go to drill. The night before, this past drill has been like a 5-day drill for some reason, and normally they're only 3 days. So this one is just way longer. But chicken noodle soup has got to be one of my favorite recipes, and just look how good it is. Oh yes, and I've been talking so much I didn't even realize we made it to the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you give these recipes a try, let me know. Comment down below, tag me on Instagram, do whatever. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!